It's Fernando Ruiz Art. Hi everybody, welcome back and welcome to part 2 in our studies on perspective. So we have here our notes, our drawings from what we did in part 1. And if you haven't seen part 1, it is up on my channel, so I will link to it in the description below. And I urge you to check out part 1. In part 1, we talk about the concept of the horizon line and the eye level, and how horizon line is actually a misnomer, and what people really mean when they use the term horizon line is eye level. And we talked about how one of the earliest decisions we have in any drawing is the placement of that eye level, and which is totally up to the artist. So that was all in part 1, which again, if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It'll really help you going forward. Okay, now today, what we want to talk about, now that we've mastered the horizon line, we're going to talk about this thing, the vanishing point. Now, the vanishing point is another one of those things that you get to decide. So why don't we turn the page here and go to a fresh piece of paper. Okay, so as we started last week, I wanna put a cube into 1 point linear perspective. Okay, which means that all of my receding lines are going to recede to one vanishing point. And I'm going to talk about, well, we'll see what that means as I go along. I've got my trusty ruler, and as I mentioned last week, I'm just gonna throw a horizon line. Let's go a little lower than that. Let's go a little lower. Hit a horizon line. I'm not being too careful. And really, when it comes to perspective, you really need to be very careful. And hopefully that'll make sense as we go too. But there's my horizon line. Now what I'm going to do is I want to draw a cube. We started to draw a cube last week. So I'm just going to take us through it. And when it comes to drawing a cube, the first thing I want to draw is the front of that cube. And I'm starting with the front because it is the point on the cube that is closest. Let's center this a little bit. It is the point of the cube that is closest to me. Okay, that's what you want to start out with. What is closest to you on the cube? Now, if we could just step aside for a second. Now, a cube, okay, I'm just throwing down a few quick imperfect cubes here so we could really illustrate what I'm talking about. And I want to talk about the vanishing point of what that is. Now, these are cubes, really quickly, roughly drawn, sketched out cubes. And in all of these cubes, okay, we have the front of the cube. Most of the front is closest to us. And everything else, okay, the sides of these cubes, they're receding away. They're receding away, okay? And we have to think of these lines that are receding as going on forever. Okay, they go on beyond our cube. They keep receding, 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 and they will converge. Okay, and where they converge, that is what we call the vanishing point. That vanishing point is going to rest somewhere on the horizon line. So, like I said before, this vanishing point, the placement of that vanishing point, is a decision we get to make. We, as the artist, we get to decide where we want to put this. And we decide it based on what we want to show the cube. Do we want to show this side of the cube? Do we just want to look at the cube straight on? What do we want to see of the cube? And that's where what we have to think about when we decide where to place that. And that may also make more sense as we go along. Okay, so we started our cube. We started with, again, that part of the cube that is closest to us, which is that front plane. Now, just to keep things fairly simple, I'm going to put that vanishing point right back here, okay? Now, what I'm doing by putting the vanishing point right behind my cube, and let's pretend we could see through the cube. What I'm doing is I'm saying that we are looking straight on at this cube, okay? Now, my cube has corners to it, okay? Each corner becomes a point. Now, from these corners, I'm going to have, remember my receding lines? They came off of the corners of my cube, okay? Off of those corners, my receding lines are all receding off of each of these corners. And that's what's going to happen here with this cube. So from each corner, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in my straight edge here. This is my rolling ruler. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to join that corner to that vanishing point. And I'm going to do the same thing for this, from this corner to that vanishing point. And from this corner to the vanishing point. And from this corner to the vanishing point. Okay? So I have established my receding lines. So the sides of my box are stretching out to that vanishing point forever and ever and ever. Now, of course, I want a back end to my box, right? I don't want it to stretch out forever. I want my box to have a back to it. Now, I'm gonna go the easier. There's a more technical way of doing this. I'm gonna keep it easy. Maybe in a future video, I'll get fancy and show you the more scientific way of doing this. But for right now, we're gonna keep it really simple. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna guesstimate. That's right. We're gonna say, right there. That's how deep I want my box. And I totally made that call, okay? Maybe if I want my box to be deeper, well, I'll push that point further. If I want my box to be thinner, I'll pull it forward, okay? Just to keep things simple, I'm gonna put that point somewhere right there. And actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna measure. You know what? Let's pretend it's about a 1/2 inch. Just about is a 1/2 inch, okay? We're not really precise here, but let's pretend we are. Now I'm gonna go down to the opposite line, right? 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Now, if I have been doing this correctly, and I haven't been because I've kind of freewheeled some of this, but if I did this correctly, these 2 points should be directly across from each other. And this line that I'm putting down back here, it should end up being perfectly parallel to the bottom of that first square that I drew. Now, once I have that, right, let me see how, it's about 3/8. So I'm gonna go up, go up, go up. 3/8 brings me there. And now what I can do is draw a line going from this point up to that point, right? And I could kind of guesstimate this, keeping this my ruler straight and going to this point right across the line here. And I could draw a similar line. Now, if I've been doing this correctly, again, these 2 points should be directly across from each other. And that means that I can just take my ruler, join those 2 points, and close them up. And now I have, just reinforce these lines. This is my box. This is my box in 1 point linear perspective in a straight on view. Does that make sense? Everyone see how I arrived at this? I can go in and use my eraser, take away the unnecessary lines, and there's my box. Again, we're looking at the box in a transparent way, but there's my box in perfect 1 point perspective. Did this make sense? If it didn't, please let me know in the comments below. This, of course, is just the very beginning. I don't like to throw a whole lot at you all at once, because I know with perspective, it can very easily just turn into a mess of lines, and everybody gets confused. So I'm gonna stop here at this stage, and what I'm gonna do in part 3, in our next video, what I'm gonna do is what happens when we take this vanishing point and we start moving it. What happens to our box when we start moving the vanishing point around. And hopefully that will help you see what I was trying to get across with these stump boxes up here. The value of the vanishing point and the effect and consequences of our decision about where to put that vanishing point. Okay, so there will definitely be a part 3. And along the way, I'm not going to just be doing perspective in every video. I still want to mix it up a little bit with a few more creative ones. And by that I mean some stuff where I'll draw, characters people want. Don't worry, that green arrow is coming, Nikki. And other stuff like that, and a few show and tell videos too, because people like to see that every now and then. All right, if you enjoyed this, you know what to do. Please click like. If you didn't enjoy it, click like anyway. And of course, subscribe, share, tell the world. All right, I hope this helps. Let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Keep drawing. Keep drawing.